Welcome everybody to the next episode of my little video blog here. So today I want to talk to you about something really important. It's kind of a revelation I've been having over the last couple of years that I'm going to now dedicate a lot more time to. And that is a personality trait that you might have. I'm not even sure if you want to call it a trait, but it's definitely something innate to you that you can't usually turn on or off, and that is being empathic. I first heard about being empathic on Star Trek: The Next Generation, which is one of my favorite shows growing up. There was a character on that show, her name was Deanna Troi, where she could sense and feel other people's emotions. She was from another planet, of course, and so, to some back in the 90s, that may have seemed pretty hokey. Of course you'd be from another planet if you have that sort of skill. But if you want to call it a skill, sometimes it's actually a disability. Hopefully not a pre-existing one, so you don't lose your health insurance. But, as time's gone on, I've actually met some people with it, and all these years I realized I've had it. And it's kind of, affected me in certain ways that I'm not too happy with, which is why I've started dedicating more time to it, because as much as it can be a negative for you, it can also be a positive. And I'll talk about those two differences in future videos, but I wanted to address it today as pertains to you, because maybe you're empathic too and you may not even realize it. Okay, so let's start with the first point. So these are the 7 ways, and it's not an exhaustive list, but these are 7 ways you can figure out if you're empathic. You might very well be and not realize it. The first is the following. You might be empathic if you feel tired after you speak with certain people. In my law practice for the last how many years, there are many clients that I dreaded speaking with because I would talk with them, and it was an amazing thing. I would talk with them whether over the phone or in my office, and even sometimes via email, believe it or not. That's how sensitive empathic people can be. And when I would be done talking with them or communicating with them, I would feel tired. I would literally feel like I had to take a nap. And throughout the years you hear people say passingly, oh, that person drains me. Well, it's a real thing. And so you might be empathic if talking with certain people makes you feel tired afterwards, because somehow you're absorbing their energy. And let me backtrack for 1 second. I didn't even really detail what an empathic person is. An empathic person in black and white is somebody that absorbs the energy around them, usually from other people. I might even argue from certain animals too, but generally you absorb other people's energy. So if you're with somebody that's negative, you're going to feel negative whether you like it or not, and if you're with positive people, you're going to feel positive as well. So that's the first trait for somebody that's empathic, and that is they feel tired when they're around certain people. Contrary, or conversely, they also feel even more elated or more upbeat when they're with very positive people, because they're absorbing their energy. You also might be empathic. Number 2 is being around large numbers of people or crowds makes you feel drained or tired. For some reason, empathic people feel skittish or get skittish when they're in crowds of people. My guess is because there are probably certain elements of people in that crowd that are draining you. Number 3, people with problems are gravitated towards you. Let me give you a couple of examples outside of me being an attorney. I'll give you a very simple one. I was on a trip. I was in Tajikistan recently, and we were at a market square, and a young 10-year-old, probably homeless girl came up to me, and there's a group of us in my tour group, and there are hundreds of other people in that market, right? And it's not like I stick out as a tourist. I mean, certainly some of the blonde-haired, blue-eyed people in Tajikistan on my tour group stuck out much more than I did. But this girl from everybody targeted me specifically. And she wanted, she was a beggar and she wanted money, or she wanted something, probably money. And she just kept harassing me for it. I said, no, no, no. And she didn't let go. She was tugging at my shirt. I kept walking. I kept saying no. I mean, it became embarrassing. I walked far away. I was walking like, 100 meters away from the square, and she was still on me. And I even walked into another market where you'd think she would let everything go because now we're in private property kind of thing, and she still wouldn't let me go. I mean, she was really testing her bounds with me. And from all the people she could have asked, she approached me. Why? Because she had a problem and there was something about me, the empathy or the empathic nature, that she could sense I would be a good target for somebody to absorb her problem. Similarly, I also know, random people and, clients, they love coming to me with their problems. And some of you may be saying, oh, this guy's a dick, he's an attorney, of course he's supposed to deal with other problems. You're right, but I'm not supposed to deal with people's problems that have nothing to do with the case they're working on, but they'll still come to me and, talk to me about whatever's going on in their personal life. And honestly, I feel like crap afterwards. And it drains me. And you know what the funny part is? They walk away feeling fantastic. And I always get the compliment of, oh, I love talking with you because I always feel so great after. Well, something they don't realize is that I feel like shit afterwards after they're done talking with me. So you'll notice that if you tend to have people with problems that they could go to 1 million people, but they seem to always target you, even though you're not even close with them. So you might be empathic if you're noticing this trend. Number 4, and this dovetails off my last point, and that is when you're around certain people, you feel mentally tormented. I have a lot of clients like this because I'm part of bankruptcy attorney, and people with a lot of mental problems often suffer or have to do a bankruptcy afterwards because they can't handle certain things. I can give you a lot of examples. Let me give you one. There's this lady who needed to file bankruptcy and she was my client, but there was something about the way she talked and the way she put her sentences together that when I would talk with her on the phone for more than 2 minutes, my brain would go from being very logical and very orderly to running in a circle. And I remember she called me on a Saturday and I was talking with her, and I got out of my car, and the way she was talking and the way she was transferring her energy to me, I'm not making this up. I wanted to get on my knees and pound my head into the concrete on the ground. And I didn't even know why, but years later, I realized I was suffering from her own mental torment because she obviously couldn't think properly and her head would spin in circles in her brain. You could just tell, and I could feel it, and it would make me suffer the same problem she had, whatever that was or wasn't. And I've had a lot of clients like that. You hear the term, and you may think that's germane to me, but that may be a problem with you too, because you hear people say in passing, that person drives me crazy. Think about that. That person drives me crazy or drives me up the wall. But take it literally. If you're empathic, somebody else literally can drive you crazy if they're crazy. So if you're empathic, you're absorbing and you're feeling what they're feeling in their head, and it makes you crazy as well. So that's my point number 4 of how you might be empathic, where you're around certain people and you feel mentally tormented because you're suffering their mental torment. Number 5, you can feel overwhelmed with various emotions, and even though your life is going great, you feel some sort of suffering just by virtue of the fact that there are other people in your life that are driving negative information or negative feelings towards you, and you're absorbing it. And all of these points, you can kind of see they're building blocks from one another. Number 6, you tend to find that you need a lot of alone time. And you don't need alone time just because you happen to be an introvert. You need alone time because you feel like you need this downtime to recharge your batteries. Well, isn't that strange? Why do you need to recharge your batteries if you're just accepting good information and you're just accepting positive energy all day? So something's draining you, because if you're eating a good diet and you're healthy, you shouldn't really be drained at all. Okay, granted, maybe at work you had a bit of stress and you're tired. That's recharging your batteries too. But a lot of people that are empathic, they need to recharge their batteries by being alone because of the fact that people drain them, and they may not have put those pieces of the puzzle together. Finally, number 7. When you're talking with somebody, their words only account for a small percentage of their communication with you. What does that mean? Let's say I'm talking with a new client, right? I'm hearing what they're saying. I'm hearing the words coming out of their mouths, but I'm also feeling and interpreting all their subtle body language, and I'm interpreting what they're trying to say even though they're not saying it. And even that's tiring sometimes, because I have clients that they can't string a sentence together properly that's coherent. So I'm almost trying to read their mind of what they're trying to communicate, and I end up being successful at it, but that's another reason I can feel tired, or you could feel tired afterwards, because of the fact that you're not just listening to their verbal cues, you're actually listening to them at a whole metaphysical level, because you're reading their energy, and that's very tiring. So those are 7 points or 7 ways which are characteristics of the empathic person, and maybe characteristics of you. So if you suffer and hopefully sometimes benefit from any or all of these conditions, you may have an empathic nature to you that you haven't realized yet. And that comes with it a whole set of problems, but there are also benefits to it. So in future videos, we'll talk about both. But think about these things and how they relate to you, because you may have a skill that you may never have discovered yet. And think about these things and how you interact with other people, because there are plenty of people that other people don't affect them. They can walk through a room full of negative people. They can meet with people that are extremely negative, spouting off their problems to them, and they feel great afterwards. So don't assume just because you feel a certain way about a certain person that's just normal. You could actually be quite abnormal and be empathic in nature, not have even realized it. So think about those 7 things, and I will talk to you about a few positives to this thing called being empathic, and I'll talk to you about the negatives as well in a future video. All right, have a good one.